Alright, hi guys, it is Rebecca Taylor here, and we have the brilliant chemist behind Trillion Tones,
Kaisa Leppala.
got Kaisa here. So Kaisa and I are going to go through really what is Trillion Tones, what makes it so unique, why it's called a hybrid color, and the many uses that she's established through testing, that I've established through the experimentation the last year and a half, and really just sharing with you the fact that this is an artist's color line. You can literally create so many different scenarios other than what's in the manual, but we want to go through the manual and give you the points of difference and the features and benefits, and we're going to get into that with you guys right now. Okay, so basically Trillion Tones is the first hybrid hair color line ever. It's not just a direct dye, it's not a demi, it's not a permanent, but it's all of them. So it is all of them in an essence, but it's not one or the other. It's the stylist's choice to create their own unique color shades. So not only are you creating the tone visually, you're also creating the color category. So you have control from start to finish as to what color you're creating, which is absolutely brilliant to me, and I think it's going to mean a lot to a lot of stylists because you have that freedom to build your color line from the ground up. Okay, so Trillion Tones, Kaisa honestly is the brains behind this. I mean, you really are. You're the brains behind this line. It's, I think, inception was, what, 8 years ago that you kind of started playing around with the concept?
I think about 4 years ago, playing with the idea was as soon as I came here about 12 years ago, but wow. I had the breakthrough was 4 years ago with that one test I did in the lab.
It's amazing.
And that's when it started.
Like, your brilliant, like, scientific mind just blows me away. So you have that part of it, the technical aspect of it, and you give these tools to the stylist to take their creative aspect, and it just, the idea of technology and artistry come together like in perfect synchronicity with this line. So basically, it's a direct dye based PPD free hair color. Not only is it PPD free for those of you that have sensitivity to certain ammonia types or allergens or things like that, it's cruelty free, which is huge for everybody. It's vegan and it's gluten free. So it's a very clean, to the point, effective hair color. So not only is it direct dye based, it can be used as a permanent hair color like we mentioned, and so this allows you to do all types of hair coloring, anything from gray coverage to pastels, vibrant jewel tones, permanent lift and deposit on virgin hair. So that's huge, you guys. You can actually lift and deposit all in one shot and get fashion color results, which from my experience, you've never been able to do that before. And you can also get natural blonde, brunette, red shades, literally you name it, you can get everything with this line. So it's everything with a very small inventory, and we'll get into that later. Okay, so what this allows you to do, it allows you to offer your client a completely new color experience with Trillion Tones. So they're used to, really they're just used to you pulling a tube off the shelf and it being pretty run-of-the-mill. Of course, you can mix those tones together, but this really allows you to customize tones and color categories, like I mentioned, specifically for each one of your clients or your models or your guests. So it really offers them like a really new artistic experience. So it's a brand new way of coloring altogether. What I like about it, and what a lot of you will like about it, is that it, like I said, the inventory is super low. You literally have 16 pieces or 16 SKUs, so instead of having a giant cabinet full of hundreds of different shades, you have 16 pieces and that's it. So it's a huge space saver. It's a huge, really, I would say the cost is very low. You get on average about 80 or so applications per salon opener, and the breakdown of that is about $3.30 per application. And just to go through the points again, it's PPD free. You can create endless tones, and then the cool thing about this too is with oxidative color, you don't really know what you're going to get when you're mixing it in the bowl. It has to fully oxidize and change the quality of the hair from the inside out, essentially, and affect the melanin that way. But the way you mix this, you mix part A first visually. with the primary tones or white or black or brown, and you're creating your desired result. So you see that first, and then you add part B and part C to it. So that's really huge. I love the fact that you can see what you're getting before you're even applying to it. And you can also color virgin and gray hair, which is huge. And then you don't need to always pre-lighten hair. So this is a super healthy color line because you don't have to first pre-lighten, then blow dry, and then apply again. So it's a time saver, and it also salvages the integrity and strength of your client's hair. So also Trillion Tones is suitable for use on people under 16 years of age because of the quality of the color line and the fact that you don't have to pre-lighten first. So that's a big one. So use your judgment there, but also be mindful of it being an oxidative color and the quality and condition of your guest's hair. But yeah, it's absolutely suitable for people under 16 years of age, which is a big deal. Also, the color fades beautifully. I can speak from personal opinion. I have models that I've watched the fading process over 6 to 12 to 20 washes, and it fades on tone beautifully. I've actually applied blues and purples and different colors to models, and it's faded back to platinum in some cases. It's all how they take care of it, but I find that Trillion Tones fades absolutely beautifully, and from my experience, it's really simple to remove. So that's sort of the benefit of color fading with Trillion Tones. And last but not least, and really most importantly, the only limit to this color line is your imagination, and anything is possible. So just to give you a breakdown of the components of Trillion Tones. So you're going to have 16 SKUs total, like I mentioned. The main components are A, B, and C. So A, or part A, those are your direct dyes. Those are your pigments. You're going to have the intense pigments, which are intense black, intense brown, intense red, intense blue, intense yellow. And then you're going to have another set of pastels, which again are pastel black, brown, red, blue, and yellow. So the intense pigments, that's 100% pigment, and honestly some of the most saturated pigments I have ever used when it comes to direct dyes. And then the pastels are 20% the intensity of the intense tones. And then you have white. So the second component is part B, and that's your alkaline or your ammonia. That is what causes the cuticle to swell and the pigment to penetrate deeper into the hair. That's also what allows you to achieve that lift and deposit simultaneously. So that's your part B. And then part C, that's your developer. So you have 3%, which is 10 volume, and then you have 7.5%, which is 25 volume. And basically, you guys know, or if you don't know, peroxide causes oxidation, and then the released oxygen lightens the natural hair's melanin and allows you again to achieve that lift and deposit. So when you're mixing this as an oxidative color or a permanent color, you're going to want to mix, just generally, equal parts A, B, and C as a general rule. So the instructions for Trillion Tones, which is a new type of hair color, through mixing direct dyes and ammonia containing non-pigmented alkaline and hydrogen peroxide containing developer, you can use this as a permanent hair color. The method makes this possible for you even being able to lift virgin hair color and gray hair without pre-lightening first, which again, like I mentioned several times, that is a game changer because it saves a whole step. You can also use direct dyes alone without part B and C, and it's straight direct dye, which can be applied to typically your 9 and 10 level hair, but if you want to get creative and do more muted or industrial tones, you can even apply direct dyes to even 7 or 8. I mean, you're not going to get the intensity, you're absolutely not going to get the intensity, but you will get a more muted or industrial look, and that also gives you the freedom as the artist to create the tones that you want. So the hair's natural base or tonal value will affect the end result. Color doesn't remove color that's already present in the hair, but it adds new color to it. So that's the age-old rule when it comes to hair color is artificial pigment will not lift artificial pigment. You also have to be mindful of the tone that's present, like the remaining pigment contribution, and you need to formulate accordingly to either neutralize or accentuate the tone that's present. So that again is basic sort of color 101 and still applies with Trillion Tones. And then all shades can be mixed with each other. You know, white can be used to make the shade lighter, more pastelized, brighter, even neon tones. So white is your diluter in this case. So another benefit or feature of Trillion Tones is that this line is compatible and can be mixed with other color lines. So if you have a color line or a core line that you're used to, and just as an example, and you want to make your red copper a little brighter, you could essentially add part A, red or yellow, to that and create a brighter, more intense tone. And just basically give it a boost. And that the type of pigment that is in part A basically survives in oxidative color and gives you that punch that you're looking for. So for me, that's huge that you can mix this line with other lines. That for me has never been done in the industry, and a huge part of why I love this line so much. So anytime you're about to approach any hair color, as we know, we need to assess and analyze the hair. What is your target level? What is the target goal and tone? And what are you going to do or need to do to get there? What are you going to need to mix? And that is where this color line, being a hybrid color, comes into play. You need to figure out, is it virgin? Is it processed? Is it dark? What shade that you're going to need to get there, remaining pigment, is there gray coverage that needs to be assessed? There's many attributes that come into play. So make sure you analyze the hair before you decide on how you're going to mix the color. So just going back again about how to mix the color, you're going to mix the part A, which is the pigment first. You're going to do so visually to create the tone that you're after. Also keeping in mind, are you needing to neutralize or accentuate, as I mentioned. Then you're going to choose, need to choose the strength of part B, which is the alkaline. There's a stroke 0 or a stroke 00, and later Kaisa will get into that a little bit. And then you're going to choose part C, which is the developer, and will be either 10 volume or 25 volume. And you will mix equal parts. That's the basic rule of thumb, is equal parts A, B, and C. And you can do so using, the best way I've found is by using a scale, and either using grams or ounces, depending on where you're from and what you use.
I'd like to add one more thing. In general, it is what you see is what you get. Except the blue. Blue is the odd one out here. And that's because the alkaline affects it and kind of eats some of the intensity. So when you're mixing it, just drop the amount of blue to 1/3 at first. And when you're happy with the shade, then add the remaining 2/3.
Yes.
And then only add the alkaline.
And don't be scared.
Yes.
Don't be scared. The first time I mixed the blue and added the alkaline, I was like, what's happening here? Because it kind of goes green. Yeah. Yes. I was like, what's happening? But it's totally normal if you trust the process. What you see initially before you add the alkaline is what you will get once you drop the third amount for the blue. So that's the only thing I find that is a little different. It goes
quite green. There's a chemical reaction, but in a matter of minutes it will go back to blue, and it will not affect the result at all.
Exactly.
So
yes.
Trust it.
Trust the process with the blue.
This test has been repeated thousands of times.
Yes. I've never had an issue that hasn't turned out either according to plan or better than I expected. So just like I said, trust the process with the blue. Don't be alarmed. It's a normal attribute.
Yes.
So when it comes to application, the viscosity of this product is actually really smooth, and a small amount, if you emulsify and melt into the hair, goes a long way. So the processing time, there's a chart that you'll be able to look at, but generally it's about 20 to 50 minutes. If you're using it as a direct dye only, you're looking more at the 20 to 25 minute point. And if it's more of an oxidative color where you need to lift or deposit or you're looking at gray coverage, then you're more on the 50-minute side of the spectrum. So that's the application and processing time.
So this chart will basically give you an idea what you can do with it. You can lift up to 3 levels. You can go darker, you can do roots, and you can do grey, naturally same level as well. And these are guidelines, you know, which are intensity you should use, if you should go intense or pastel, which alkaline to use. We only recommend the 00 for if you want to do the high lift. It can, in our experience, it has lifted more than 3 as well at times, but we can promise the 3 every time. And then is which developer we recommend, and then the mixing ratio changes. If you want to lift, then you add a bit more developer, and if you go darker or you're doing grey, then you add more color. And here's some guidelines on the processing times, depending what you want to do.
It's a pretty straightforward table. And the good thing is that these are the basic guidelines for all of these different scenarios, but we also, I mean, Kaisa and I have talked, we also really urge you to experiment and, you know, try your own unique methods of lifting and depositing and gray coverage. Just depends on the effect that you're after.
Yes.
Not every time do you want the clarity of like a super bright neon or rainbow color. I know some artists that just really love like natural earth tones, so you know, one version of pretty may not be another version of pretty, so this is your chance to experiment with different ratios and all that good stuff. So when you're using Trillion Tones as a direct dye, without the alkaline and the developer, just the general rules of thumb when using it, analyze the hair first. If it's virgin, you will have to pre-lighten. I have had great success on using this on even virgin hair being a level 8 and gotten results that I'm after. But if you want to use it as a true, bright, like really effective direct dye, you're going to want to pre-lighten to a 9 or a 10, 8 absolute darkest to really get the results what you're after. So you prepare the desired mass of color by mixing the shade, just component A, and you're doing so visually, and again, what you see is what you get on the hair. And then so apply evenly to hair with whatever technique you're using. That's completely up to you as an artist, whether you're doing like a gradient or a color melt, or just there's a million different techniques, but process for about 25 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. I recommend rinsing with cool water when using a direct dye. There's a great color sealer that we could recommend using that I've been loving versus a shampoo. It closes the cuticle and allows the color to last longer. But for me, what I generally do rinsing direct dyes is I rinse very quickly, very well with cool water, follow with a conditioner, and immediately blow dry. And that's just that's the way I've always
really
done it with the direct dye, yes.
Also, I would like to give another tip here, even when you're using as a direct dye, when you don't need to pre-bleach it, it's already done. Add a little bit of alkaline and a little bit developer. You don't have to measure anything, just a little squirt each. And that will allow the pigments to go deep in the hair shaft, and that will also help the color removal later if you want to do that.
See, this is a tip that I really like. I'm glad she shared with me. I wouldn't have known to do that. So, I mean, who doesn't want it to be easier to remove? So you can still have it be a direct dye, but a little squirt of part A and a little squirt of part B and part C makes it easier to remove and makes it just a little bit brighter too, right?
Yep.
So, cool. That's how you use it as a direct dye.
We have a few color charts here. These are not your traditional color charts, they're more like we call like a mood board. And I'd like to explain this a little bit. So here you have all your main shades at different intensities on different level hair. And I'd like to stress at this point that this is all the same hair, just done in, these are lab tests, these are in vitro tests. And to give you an idea what you can reach, how far can you go with the color without pre-lightening it. And so we have level 10, which in the lab has been almost white. Then there's level 8, level 6 and level 4. And the first one there is, that's when you use the intense colors. So you can see they are pretty intense even on level 4. You can get a really, really nice color, red for instance there. And so for the level 4 we would always recommend to use the intense. Then we diluted 50-50 with intense and white. And for level 6, I thought we got really nice results with this as well. You don't necessarily need the intense. can already see that it's often even a little bit brighter, you know, if you add some white.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the pastels, which are pretty ideal for level 8, and then we diluted the pastel with white 1 to 3, which makes it only 5% of the intense tone. And if you have very white hair, that's all you need. You don't necessarily need to always use the intense.
Yeah.
You can play around with the white. But these are guidelines. Everybody can do exactly as they wish, but we've kind of done the pre-testing for you just to make it easier to get what and how the color might change also. Mm-hmm. Like the blue is very blue on the white, but then when you go towards the 8, then it starts going a little bit greenish because there's going to be a lot of yellow undertones there.
Exactly. And that's just your general
Yes.
knowledge of the color
Yes.
wheel and like remaining
Yeah.
pigment and
Yeah.
everything. But just to point out, you guys, I mean, I'm looking at the color chart, and if you look at the level 4 dark brown hair and see the results of the red and blue on a level 4, that's a big deal.
That
I mean,
is
anytime
huge.
in the past you would have to pre-lighten
Yes.
to get that. And that, I mean, just as an example, application-wise, if you want to do a shadow root on a client, normally you would have to lift, then deposit. With this, you could actually mix your formula, create a great shadow root if you're lifting from a level 4, and then maybe use the ends as a direct dye or just like change formulas as you're going down the hair strand. But that's, for me, that alone is game changing, that you're able to create these tones. And these are just the primaries. These are just the basics. I mean, that's why it's trillions of tones. This is one small table of just the basics, and then you create and customize from there. So anything's possible.
Yes. Here we have actually mixed a 50-50 with all the tones. So there's a red, yellow, red and blue, yellow and blue, black and yellow, black and red, black and blue, brown and yellow, brown and red, and then brown and blue. So first is again, you know, on level 10, and we just done the 5% here. So let's have to give an idea what the shade is, and then going darker, and the last one is then you use the intense for the level 4. Just to give an idea what kind of colors you can create when you're mixing them together, 50-50. I'd like to warn people. I know some people actually like the last one there with the brown and the blue, but if you go in natural, I would never recommend it because most people wouldn't want that muddy green.
Yeah. Definitely not.
Yes.
If you want natural, wearable, conservative, I'm using air quotes right now, conservative hair, that may be not the best thing to do.
It wouldn't.
But in the creative color world,
of course, anything.
oh my god, this would be like a dream color for these people
Yes.
that do these desert tones and stuff. But be very, very advised.
Red one is very safe to mix with anything. You always create a really, really beautiful tone.
Always, yeah.
Always.
So pretty.
Yes.
I love how the recipes are all laid out for you. I mean, I'm definitely, and then I probably have driven Kaisa crazy with this. I squirt this and I squirt that, and she's so like structured and right brain, and I love how these recipes that she's done put all this work into, and like made it easier for those of you guys that want to stick to the guidelines and want to have like, you know, like the recipe laid out for you. These are just some examples, and there's probably, I think, a couple slides that I have even more examples, but it makes it so simple for you. It's literally like a recipe, a color recipe, like if you were baking a beautiful, colorful cake. So I just thank you so much for putting all the work into this, for doing this part of it. It's awesome.
Good.
More recipes!
More recipes.
Yes.
Then we were asked in the lab to do some basic recipes. What people want to do. Sometimes they want to do ash, how to create the best gold. I want to go violet, mahogany, anything. And we thought, well, we can't do everything. So, and these are just, this is literally in vitro lab tested. Again, the same hair. This has been used for all of these. So naturally, especially for 8, that 8 is a very, very tricky base because it can have a lot of gold and that can affect the shade so much. And actually, the whiter you go, there's even more you can see through. But again, ideas. Kind of just to grasp the idea of which tones or which colors would you mix together to create that kind of world, and then make it your own. Completely make it your own.
If you notice some of them on the level 8, pastel black is used in quite a few of them to cool off the unwanted warmth that's present. So keep in mind, pastel black has, I would say, more of a blue base.
Yes.
So that really will cool off a lot of the unwanted warmth that starts to be present once you're lifting up. So that's big for you to be able to create a bunch of different things. And another note, that aubergine or eggplant or purple color is very popular, very hard to achieve. And if you look at the last two columns on level 6 and level 4 hair, there's at least 6 different beautiful tonal versions of that you could mix all of those different formulas up, apply to a level 6 or level 4 or a 5. It's just not shown there, but you can get that beautiful like wine or aubergine color that's very popular. So that is exciting to me as well.
Good.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to also stress that all of these have done without the blue except for the violet, because that would be impossible to do without the blue. Okay. But for the rest, you know, they are, when you want to go natural, steer away from the blue. And if you want to, yes, like you said, you know, add the black.
Add the black instead of
yes.
the blue. Yeah. Because that's more of a neutral dark foundation with a tips to the blue
and it will
side.
Deepen it nicely as well.
Gotcha.
And
these are just pretty. That's what these are.
These are again on very, very white hair. Just ideas, you know, how to get pink. These are pretty standard, but still they're nice. It's nice to know, you know, how to get it like just a shade, how to get a coat part, a warm out ideas. Make it your own. Don't read too much into it. Just our idea of our tests in the lab.
Well, some stylists need that as a comfort level, you know.
And so starting line.
Exactly.
That's how this is meant to just to give ideas.
Exactly. So a reference point, and then once they get familiar with it, then they can start customizing and everything. What I find, I'm looking at this and I haven't used this very much as a toner, but I'm looking at the neutralizing shades portion, and you being able to create cool blondes, like having a violet neutralizer on pre-lightened hair that's really, really yellow. You can create this is where you create your own toners. So you can create beige, blush, violet, like just straight up platinum blonde, and there's a couple of recipes for those shades right there. And then also gray, roots, darkening, those sort of darker neutral tones is in the bottom right-hand quadrant, or little third right there. So all kinds of guidelines, just good starting points.
For the gray, I would like to also mention at this point that for best coverage, it would be best to always use intense black and intense red. And then if you want to make it cool, then add the intense blue. And if you want to make it a bit warmer, like natural brown, then add the brown. Never ever mix the brown and the blue together, because then the red will be cancelled out because the opposite colors.
Gotcha.
So
and the brown is quite warm, like in general.
Brown is quite warm. Yes.
So keep in mind with that, if you want like more of a neutral or a chocolate brown, go maybe kind of half and half with the black and brown. But keep in mind for sure that the brown is very red based, I would say. So you even go more black than brown.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. You can mix it as you wish.
Yeah.
But the red is quite important to add when you're doing grey hair, because there's no red pigment in the hair, and you need that. You need to add it there. Exactly. Because it is white.
That exactly right. That was something I learned years ago, and it was like a light bulb moment when you're dealing with gray or unpigmented hair. The warmth is not present, so the warmth has to be added back, or it's just going to look green or hollow or icky. It's the anchor color, so you need the warmth involved for that.
Yeah.
All right, so here are some useful tips using the intense tones. The intense yellow, it allows you to create vivids as well as natural copper shades. Yellow color pigments will help you bring warmth to cool shades. I've created very, very intense neon shades and neon green, like bright neon green, using yellow as a base. Like I'll use the intense yellow, clear, and a dot of blue, and I'll get the prettiest like neon green you've ever seen in your life. So intense yellow is very, very potent on its own. The intense blue, it also allows you to create vivid shades. With the help of the intense blue, red, and black, you can achieve intense black even on completely white hair. So that's one option for the intense blue. For the intense red, by mixing the intense red with other shades, you can create all orange, purple, mahogany, red, brown variations. Intense red will add a nice tone to black hair as well. So that was sort of the eggplant or the aubergine wine color I was talking about. Also, by mixing intense red and yellow together, you can create some super gorgeous copper tones and red tones, and by adding a little brown in as well, you can deepen it and it won't be like in crazy intense. So those are some uses of the red. And then the intense brown, the combination of the brown and the yellow, basically what I just said. The combination of the brown and the yellow color pigments allows the versatile copper palette. Also, by mixing brown and red color pigments, you will achieve an intense brown-red shade. And then finally, intense black, the intense black color pigment, will help deepen and darken any shade. Black and brown together allow you to create custom natural shades, like we mentioned in the last few slides. Here. So we went over the intense pigments, and so let's go over some of the pastel tones. With pastel yellow, it allows you to create a fresh orange, peach, apricot shades, as well as stunning green tones. And this, again, if I mentioned before with the intense yellow, you can create some really pretty chartreuse or like gorgeous neon or just really bright yellow-green tones using the pastel yellow. The pastel blue, if you can mix it together with white, you achieve various nuances of turquoise or periwinkle, light blue, sky blue, you name it, any color you can imagine. By also mixing the pastel blue and yellow, you can create a beautiful green shade. And then by combining pastel blue, red, and black, you can successfully neutralize any of the unwanted orange tones present in the hair. Let's see here. So for the red, we got the pastel red, helps create beautiful pink, rose golds, which are super popular right now, and delicious candy colors. So also the peaches and corals and intense, just you name it, like tangerine tones and things like that. Pastel red can also result as a vivid shade in completely blonde hair, which could be gorgeous and very intense. So the pastel brown, in combination with any other pastel color, it allows you to create a neutral blonde shade from copper to different hues of sand. So that'll be your pivotal color if you want to create more of the toned down or neutral shades. Also, by adding white to any of these, you can take down the intensity even more if you want a more sheer or translucent shade. And then finally, pastel black color allows you to easily create various gray nuances, which are very popular. Silvers, grays, smoky tones. You can also add black to anything I mentioned before and get a very industrial, smoky, shadow root kind of effect. And it also can be used to neutralize tones when mixed with red. Black and brown also allow you to create natural blonde shades. Okay, so what is really important after you have achieved the color that you're after, and after you have this beautiful canvas and your client, your model, your guest is happy, gorgeous, and you're sending them home, what is pivotal is knowing how to improve color retention. They want this color to last. So first of all, you can use any bonder, any bond builder with the SensiDO Trillion Tones, and that will fortify the integrity of their hair. So healthy hair, obviously, the color lasts longer. So definitely add any sort of additive or bond builder with the color, and that helps a ton. Also, a hidden culprit is the sun. UVA and UVB rays will kill any hair color. I'm just gonna add a quick anecdote. When I lived in Florida, I had a client that I did a really bright blue green kind of color on, and she went to Disney for a week and didn't have her hair colored and didn't wear a hat, didn't wash her hair either because she knew washing her hair would cause the color to fade. And when she came back to me a week later, her hair was practically blonde again. So people don't think about this, but the sun is just horrible for hair color, especially direct dye pigments. So always remember to use your hair products that contain a UV protection or cover your hair in some way. Also use products developed particularly for colored hair care, and avoid deep cleansing products. So no clarifying shampoos. I would also avoid incredibly hot water. Although I've been using hot water to kind of test out the intensity on my own hair, and it's not budging. So that's great. So the retention is really present with Trillion Tones. But as a rule of thumb, definitely use a sulfate-free, color-safe shampoo and conditioner. Also, wash hair with lukewarm water, so not super hot, cold if you really want it to last, or lukewarm. So that's middle of the road with this color line. And then when you're swimming, so when it's the summer months and you're swimming in a chlorinated pool, or really anytime you're swimming, salt water can also strip color. Make sure you protect your hair either with a swim cap if you wanna look fantastic, or I found that, so just an analogy when you're dealing with porosity. If you put something in your hair before you go swimming, whether it's conditioner, cheap conditioner, serum, or even wetting your hair, whatever the case is, if you fill your hair with something before you go into a chlorinated pool, it's less likely that your hair will absorb the chlorinated water and strip your color that way. So just be mindful when you're swimming. That can, as you know, strip your hair color out or cause it to fade faster. Let's see here. And then make sure you use heat protection products. Anything that's going to protect your hair as a thermal protectant is going to be massively valuable when you want to retain your color. Keep the hair dryer on low, keep your curling irons on low, and then try to avoid heat when possible. Let your hair air dry. That's always a good tip. So also remember, different shades fade differently. For example, blue adheres really well to processed hair, while red is very long lasting on virgin hair. I've also found, the flip side of that is that red fades out very quickly on over-processed hair. So if you have a head of copper hair and the ends are sort of over-processed, the red will, fade or become dull a lot quicker on the end. So just be mindful of that. And then that's pretty much it in a nutshell, how to improve your color retention, and Kaisa is going to give you a few more tips on this subject.
I would also like to explain this, the difference between the blue and the red especially. I think they are the most opposite when it comes to how they fade, because it all comes to molecule size, and this is going to be chemistry here.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
For you color nerds out there, yes. I love this.
The blue is the biggest molecule, so if the hair is really porous, the blue will just kind of fill the hole completely, and it will stay really well. And on the other hand, if you're dealing with virgin hair and the blue pigment or the molecule is so big that it will be almost impossible to swell the hair so much that the pigment will go as deep as it would if it's really porous. Whereas red is a lot smaller, and then again, if the hair is really porous, it's not going to attach that well there, so it will leave quicker, have easier access out. But if you do that on virgin hair, you'll open just enough and it will go really deep and it will stay there really, really well. So that's the chemistry behind it. And
good to know.
Yes.
See, you got to know the why to figure out how to take care of it.
Yeah, and it's good good to also, if you have really compromised hair in the ends and a really good condition near the roots, it would be really nice to try and use some kind of bond builder prior to coloring to try and even out the hair. Absolutely. And then the color will fade much nicer.
Absolutely.
It's a little tip.
So for sure, do a treatment with a bond builder beforehand.
Yeah.
And then absolutely, and then even mix in with your color.
With the color as well.
And then it's also important to do weekly, whether it's moisture, protein, or bond building treatments after your color service to keep the hair healthy and retain the color then as well. Because again, as we mentioned, over-processed hair with compromised integrity is going to fade quicker and not as pretty. So healthy hair is gorgeous hair. It is going to make your color look that much more vibrant.
Yes. And then there's one more tip which is good to know, because again we're going back a bit about the chemistry thing here. When you color your hair, the hair surface changes from hydrophobic to hydrophilic. In other words, it goes from water repellent to water loving. And this is because when you color the hair, you chemically treat it and you remove all the protecting oils that are on your scalp and hair. And this post-oxidation time, what I call it, this can last up to 48 hours, even 72 hours. It is quite personal how long it will last, but on average about 2 days. So in that time, don't wash your hair, don't go to a sauna, don't go to a bath, don't go to the gym and sweat it all off. Just hold back for 2 days.
See, I was right. I had
Yes.
no scientific evidence
Yes.
behind this, but
Yes.
I always told my clients there's like a 72-hour
Yeah.
curing period
Yes.
for everything to kind of neutralize and settle back down. So it's
Yes.
there's a scientific reason
There is,
behind it.
the hair is quite fragile after that, and
No, it's awesome.
after a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, then the surface will, the cutis will close again, and this will really improve the hair color retention.
Awesome. So sort of the sebum and the acid mental kind
Yes.
of like
Yes.
helps protect the
Yes.
hair again,
Yeah.
and it goes back to its normal state.
Yes.
Awesome.
Back
Good
to
to know.
hydrophobic.
Hydrophobic.
Back to that.
Repelling water.
Yes.
Right. Gotcha.
Yes. So that's good to remember. I know a lot of people don't want to do it, and I want to go to the gym, but
You gotta
well,
do what you want. You gotta do. You know.
yes, but you have been warned.
Yeah. Well, what would your suggestion be with dry shampoo? Would that be an option, or would
That's
that?
all right. That's a good option.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I will sometimes not wash my hair
Yes.
for long periods of time prior to using this color now. Dry
Yeah.
shampoo.
Dry shampoo
Yeah.
is a saver.
Awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. Good. I hope you guys really valued this information. I hope it shed some light on what this color is. We've been getting a lot of questions since it launched March 16th. There have been years from Kaisa that has gone into this line. I've personally been in participation with the line for the last year and a half and given my feedback and tried it in every possible way that I thought I could, and still I'm finding new uses for this. So I know that this literally will be a game changer for the industry because it gives the stylists the power to create anything they want from the ground up. It gives them their little bit of being a chemist, you know? Like, I love what you've done with this line. I love that I'm a part of it. So I hope all the stylists everywhere just really have fun with it. And feel free to contact us with any questions that you have. We want to see your images. Visit us online at Trillion Tones and show us your pictures. Tag Trillion Tones, hashtag Trill Tribe, and let's just all change the game together because this line is going to be epic for the industry. So thank you so much, Kaisa.
Thank you.
I'm just over the moon about this. All right, thank you guys so much, and we really appreciate this, and thank you for listening to our webinar.